everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is Samya Tejamurthy. If you're looking to travel to Japan on a tourist visa for the first time and you would like to apply for a visa without going through a travel agent, then you might find this video helpful, especially if you are still looking out for references for the documents, all of the documents that are required to apply for a visa. The first thing is your visa application form. You will have to download it from the official site, fill it up, and that you will have to submit. Along with this, you will have to write a letter and address it to the visa officer, and there you would have to explain your purpose of visit. So in my case, I was visiting as a tourist, so I explained it. I was visiting without a guarantor. Like I wasn't visiting any family or someone who's actually living in Japan, and no one from Japan was sponsoring my trip. So I mentioned that I would like to visit as a tourist without guarantor. So that's you have to precise that in the letter. So next, so you mention what's your passport number, who would you be traveling with, their passport details, and from which date to which date, and then a little bit about your financial situation. Are you currently employed in some company, or do you have your own business, etc., and who would be funding the trip. If it's you mentioned, so you are going to be sponsoring your own trip, or if someone whom you're traveling with is going to sponsor the trip for you, then you mention their name. And then next, after that, in the letter, include a table, and in the table, one column, the first column is for the dates. So every single date that you would be in Japan, mention it. And next to that, in the second column, it's the activity plan. So for every single date, mention what you would be doing. And in the third column, it's accommodation. So for that particular date and that activity plan, the night stay, where would you be staying? Okay, so the accommodation name, mention that. And in the last column, contact details, mention the contact detail of the hotel or the Airbnb, or the hostel where you would be spending the night. So 4 columns in the table. Now the activity plan, when I was preparing for my trip and I was preparing all of the documents, I referred to a number of sites, and I think in one of the official sites, the advice given was make the activity plan section as precise as possible. Please state clearly what you would be doing. So let's say you're spending 5 nights in Kyoto. Just for all of those 5 nights, don't just say Kyoto or sightseeing in Kyoto. Please specify what you would be doing in Kyoto on that particular day. In my case, what I did was, I was there for 15 days. So it was a mix of both, So for some days, the activity plan was precise. Like I would have mentioned very precisely what I had planned for that particular date. In some cases, it was very vague, saying like check into the hotel and local sightseeing in Tokyo. So it was a mix of both. And in my case, it didn't cause any trouble because we did get our visa applications and approved, and we did go to Japan and have a great trip. So so if it's possible for you to mention very precisely what you would be doing on every single day, great. If not, try to keep a mix of both, and I would say like 80-20 maybe. So 80% you say very clearly what you have planned for the day, and 20% maybe you can just keep it general, saying like local sightseeing in this particular area. Okay, so that is the table of contents. After the table mentioning your activity plan and so basically for your itinerary, next in the letter you will be mentioning the supporting documents. So let's come look at my case first. I was the primary sponsor for the trip. So in my case, I had mentioned what all I was submitting along with the application. So first thing, passport. Next thing, the completed Japan tourist visa application form. And next thing was the photocopies of the first and last pages of the passports. The passports you actually have to submit with the application. Even though for Indians, Japan is offering us e-visa, we still need to submit our passports. Okay, so just want to highlight that. And next, proof of confirmed flight reservations. In our case, we didn't directly come back from Japan. On our way back to India, we made a brief stopover in Singapore, and around 55 hours we were in Singapore because we wanted to visit Singapore using the visa-free transit facility that's available to Indians. If you have visa from certain countries, Japan is one of them. So we wanted to make avail of that. So we didn't book a flight directly back to India. We were coming through Singapore. So in the itinerary, I had mentioned that as well. Okay, so I had written in the letter also, I had mentioned that we would like to make use of this. So we are not directly from Tokyo, we are not directly going back to India. We will go to Singapore, and from Singapore we will go back to India. So when I showed proof of the return flight tickets, I showed both. So Tokyo to Singapore and finally Singapore to Chennai. So I attached everything, and in the hotel reservations I had also submitted proof of our hotel reservations in Singapore. Okay, so that I would like to highlight as well. After that, if you are working in a company, of course you need to publish an employee certificate from your company and also your leave approval. So from this date to this date you will be on leave, and they are okay with it. Okay, so leave approval also need to be part of that letter, and salary slips for the last 6 months or ITRV forms for the last 3 years according to the official website. But in my case, I didn't want to take any risk, so I submitted both of them. So salary slips for the last 6 months as well as my ITRV forms for the last 3 years, I submitted both. And travel insurance, of course. So travel insurance for me and travel insurance for everyone who was traveling with me, I had attached copies of that. And then individual bank statements, bank account statements. So in my case, because I was the primary sponsor, it was definitely a must that I showed mine, and because I was traveling with my parents, I also showed bank account statements for them. Okay, and these are the documents that I submitted with my application, and I had mentioned all of these in the letter. And finally, the standard thing, I hope you find the details adequate. In case you need something else, like I'm always at your disposal if you require any further information, blah blah blah. And regards, and the signature, name, the address, the contact details, everything. So this was in the letter, and all of the documents that I mentioned in this letter I submitted. Okay, so this was all that I submitted for me. Got to mention, you also need to submit a photograph. Okay, so don't forget that. My parents, they were traveling with me, so they were not primary sponsors. So in their case, passports, front and back, photocopies of the front and back pages of the passport, and again a letter stating their purpose, what's their passport number, who are they traveling with, who will be the primary sponsor, etc. And that the table mentioning the dates, the activity plan, the accommodation, and the contact number. After that, a list of supporting documents, and in the supporting documents, so they are not working, so there's no employment certificate in their case, and no ITR submissions, as in it's not their own ITRV forms, no salary forms from their end. So because I'm sponsoring, I have to submit my ITRV forms and my salary slips proof in their application as well. Okay, so that's very important. You have to, so for each member, the primary sponsor needs to attach copies of their ITRV forms and or salary. In my case, I submitted both salary slips, proof in each of the application. Don't forget that. Sponsor letter, okay, which I had signed. I had attached one for each, my mom and my dad, stating I am going to sponsor their thing, and in case we were in need of more funds, then they would be sharing a part of the expenses. I had mentioned it like that in their letter. And travel insurance, of course, for them as well, and the individual bank accounts, of course. Even though they mentioned that I would be the primary sponsor, they still attached proof of their bank accounts and the fixed deposits in their names, a proof of that. And yeah, so that's it. So this is all we submitted, and it went very smoothly. So what else? We submitted our visa application at the VFS branch in Chennai. We submitted on a Monday. On Thursday evening, I got an email saying your application has been, like, your passports have been dispatched. And I was expecting to see the e-visa also as an attachment in the email, which said, it has been dispatched, your passports have been dispatched, and there was no attachment. So I was starting to panic, and I thought, oh my god, so I'm not getting a visa. Finally, Friday morning, when we got our passports, in the passports there were, like, in each of our passports there was a sheet of paper, there was like a printout which had the e-visa. Okay, so it had the validity dates and for how many dates. So it was for 15 days. So it said you can, from this, between this date and this date, you're permitted to visit Japan and spend there. It was a single entry visa. So it said, like, you're permitted to stay in Japan for a total of 15 days. And this was again a cause for panic, because a return to India, but our flight from Tokyo to Singapore was on the 16th day morning. So this was again causing a panic, and I was like, oh no, we are not leaving on the 15th day, we are only leaving on the 16th day. So what is this? What will happen? So I wrote to the embassy saying, like, there's a problem with the dates. Our tickets are not refundable, we cannot change the dates, please help us out. And they reassured us, saying, like, the 15 days visa permit that you have got is correct for your travel plan. The immigration officer knows, he will stamp the dates accordingly. So finally that's what happened. So it didn't include the day that we landed. It started from the next day, and the immigration officer also explained to us, saying, like, the 16th night you cannot spend in Japan. So as long as you're leaving on the 16th day, the night you're not there in Japan, it's not an issue. Okay, so yeah, that's one more thing that I wanted to add. So if you have any more doubts, please do ask me in the comments, and I will respond to them at the earliest possible. And I sincerely hope this video helps you. If you have any questions about the visa-free transit facility to visit Singapore as well, using the Japan tourist visa, please don't hesitate to ask me about that as well. Any information that I know, I will gladly share with you. And I sincerely hope this video helps you. And it's a beautiful, beautiful country. I will be making another video to share our itinerary, in detail, what all we did when. And I will also be posting vlogs from our trip. So if you're interested in that kind of content, please do subscribe and press the bell notification. Thank you so much for watching. I will hopefully see you all in my next video as well. Until then, take care. Bye.